So guys, welcome to Dev Diary episode 19 for the 3rd of September 2018. So this is the first Dev Diary of September. Some of the changes and some of the things I'm going to be showing you today have yet to be submitted to source control and prior to that tested out on the test rig, the test PC. Just because of the nature of the work I've been doing in the last week or so. So, first thing I want to show you is some of the optimization stuff that I've been working on. So we're going to full screen this and jump in and play in window. So one thing I want to talk about first is if I bring up, I created a widget. So here in the development debug statistics widget, I imagine this will be this will have other sub-menus for other kind of debug stuff like setting player invincibility and no-clip and stuff like that. But because the nature of the work in the last week has been mostly debug stuff, I created this little widget to make it easier for me to kind of optimize the game and quickly gain information on where I'm using memory, where the major draws are, where the bottlenecks are. So the basic stats are all here. So we have FPS, unit, the graph, and the game. Then in memory we have memory, streaming, and streaming details. Rendering engine, rendering, visibility, lighting, shadows, and DirectX 3D11 statistics. Then for when I'm actually deployed on the target PC, I have start and stop profiles. So I can create profiles, bring them back to my workstation, open them up in Unreal Frontend, and really dig down into the data to see where the milliseconds are being where the cost is going, basically. So I'm going to put on FPS and unit so you can kind of see where we're at, and I'm going to exit out of that. So the next thing I want to show you is the dynamic weather. So you may notice that it's raining right now. Technically it shouldn't be raining right now, but I'll explain that a little later on. So I've set up a dynamic weather cycle where it interpolates between 4 different weather setups and changes the settings in a little blueprint actor that I've called Weather Machine that kind of over time changes settings. I've set it to change weather between 30 and 60 seconds. So we'll just kind of hang on in here, have a look around. I might go into first person mode so you get a better idea of what's going on. And so we've got the rain coming in now. So you may notice the fog intensity, the exponential height fog increases, the light decreases. We get an audio for our rain, and it's raining there. I've yet to put in some material functions to handle the wetness. That'll be coming next week, hopefully. So in another between 30 seconds and a minute we should see another change. I could lower it for the sake of this video more, but it would then start causing trouble with some of my blueprints. So we're still on rain. Among the 4 different types of weather, it's an inclusive randomization. So you can see there we were on rain, and it picked an integer of between 1 and 4 that again was rain. I think is number 3. I could have it so that it excludes the number that it's already had, so that you get a change every time. But I wanted to keep it truly random, or as close to truly random as possible, so it can just stay with the weather it already has. At the moment there's only fog, exponential height fog, changing in the lighting and in the particle system for the rain. Eventually I will have some other effects in there. For when it goes to a storm, we might have some lightning effects. For the rain here as well, we'll have different effects. But just to get it set up and working, So you can see there it's picked rain again. So that's 3 times it's picked rain, which is, again, I don't mind. It's kind of what I wanted. Maybe for the demo I should have had it as non-inclusive. We'll just kind of sit here and chill out and see if we get a different one. So now we have storm, so you notice that the speed of the clouds is increased. Fog has changed now. And the rain should be a little heavier. But again, these are early enough days, we're going to have other variables in our ultra dynamic sky and in our environment being driven by the same system. So you can see we can't see that far into the distance anymore. Our near and our far planes have changed. Should start to change again. We're back to just a regular rainy day, so the fog density has shifted slightly. And we're no longer getting the audio cue for the wind. Again, I might cut in the video to parts that are interesting, but it's nice to see the dynamic environments working. So hopefully it selects something interesting, like fog would be nice. I can also, in the future, have it so that fog is more likely in the morning time. And kind of drive the weather machine that way. So we got fog here now. You can see that our fog density, our exponential height fog, the density has gone up, and we're driving some of the values there. So that's a quick look at the dynamic weather that we've got running so far. So again, I'm getting some errors here that are coming from audio components. They're not to be worried about. It's because I'm exiting out before the blueprint script is finished executing. So in the weather system, we'll go in. One of many timelines that are used in the weather system. So if we go over here, we have an event begin play. We're getting the player character. Within the player character, we have our particle system for our rain. We're also getting a reference to ultra dynamic sky. And then from that, we're doing another set timer by event. We're getting a random float in range of 30 to 60, so they will be seconds. In the actual game, I'll have them at something like 300 and I guess 480, so we're somewhere between 5 and 8 minutes. Every 5 or 8 minutes, the weather should change. Again, to realize that 1 day night cycle takes 90 minutes in real world, is 24 hours a day. So with that, we start our weather, we go through. We have a branch here with a condition mission control. So if I want to override these settings, if I want a specific type of weather, I can then go off the true branch here. If I set mission control to true, it's by default false on that boolean. So with that said, we're not worrying about the mission control stuff, but it's kind of nice in the future that if I do want to drive weather in a certain way, I can. So with that said, we then go for set the current weather integer, which again is a value of between 1 and 4. So if we go, if current weather is weather type 1, and that's true, we go up here to fair weather. And you can see we're setting our light, we're controlling our clouds, we're affecting our environmental height fog, and we have some basic stuff we're doing with the particle system here. I hope to kind of get inside the particle system and maybe get more advanced controls over the emitter settings, but for now I'm just enabling it or disabling it depending on whether we have rain with that current type of weather. Again, I'm doing a print test here just to tell me it's fair weather, and I'm also doing some audio stuff depending on whether it's raining or not. Okay, with that said, we're pretty much doing the same thing for rain. The only difference being is we're changing different values for each different system. So we have rain, then we have storm, and then we have fog. Again, I'd like to leverage this one into using the time and day system, so that at dawn and dusk you're more likely to have fog than during the day. So that's a basic overview of the weather system. It looks quite more complicated than it actually is. I had been using these animation timelines. I had one for each setting, and I found that to be a bit problematic. It's easier to have one timeline node per kind of one for light, clouds, environment, fog, and particle systems. So that's a basic overview of how the dynamic weather is working at the moment. Again, I hope to kind of expand on some of these and add in more variables, and indeed perhaps I can kind of simplify a lot of this and optimize it in the future. But there's a lot that can go in there. It's just nice to have it working thus far. So a lot of the week has been done basically with my little statistics menu in development mode, because it's quite time consuming when you're doing optimizations. The menu definitely helps at runtime and at design time, but the real time is spent digging into the data that you're getting from your profiles, kind of mining through the data to see where the milliseconds are going. So even though there isn't as much to show this week as maybe in other weeks, there has been quite a lot of work done in I'll come out of that in optimizing our landscape, optimizing our materials, our foliage instances, and basically our draw distances on nearly everything. I kind of wanted to do all that work before I went creating the dynamic weather, so that as I was adding new functionality and new systems into the game, that there would be less a chance of me creating more bottlenecks and more optimization problems in the future. So I think from here on out, I'm going to kind of try and do an optimization pass more regularly, so that I'm not left where I'm doing a whole week of optimization, and that I'm kind of maybe going down cul-de-sacs and things like that, when I'm more aware of, as I add things, where the overheads are coming from. So with that said, with a bit more testing later on today, I hope to package a build, check it out on my workstation or on my test rig, and then get the profile back here to the workstation and drill down into the data before I submit through my source control. On a small side note, this week I'll probably be taking a break from the project for the remainder of the week after I've done my profiling. I have some work I'm doing, some freelance work that I probably can't talk about right now. But I'll be basically taking a week or so off from the project to work on that. I'll still be doing bits on it in the side, but I just won't be on it 9 to 5 this week. So cool, guys. Kind of a stranger video today because of the optimizations. I have done a video on how I approach optimization. I'll put a link to it in the top right hand corner. You can check that out if you want to find out more about optimization. I'm going to create a video on the dynamic weather once I iron out a few more of the kind of little glitches with it and things I'm not happy with, and once I kind of start driving the particle systems a bit better. With that said, that's been Development Diary, episode 19. Episode 20 should be next week. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll chat to you all again.